Welcome to the City. I'm Anthony Wilson, the Public Information Officer for the City of San Angelo. And today we have a very special episode. We are celebrating 2 statewide awards that the City of San Angelo has won at the recent Texas Municipal League Conference. One of those was for Public Works. It was in the category of cities of 25,000 or greater population. And that was for our stormwater education program, which is a partnership that we have with the Upper Colorado River Authority. And joining us today is the Education Director for the Upper Colorado River Authority, Christy Youker. Christy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Now let's start off with some basics. First of all, tell us, what is the Upper Colorado River Authority?
Well, the Upper Colorado River Authority, which is UCRA for short, is really is here to help take care of our waterways. I mean, if you think of it as simply as that. And working with other entities to help take care of these waterways. So really it includes monitoring. So a lot of, we spend a lot of time just watching and taking data regularly to see what the water quality is like all over the watershed. So it's not just in San Angelo, by the way. The Colorado River Authority obviously is for the Colorado River. And so the Concho goes into the Colorado River. So while we're based in San Angelo, really it's taking care of this whole upper basin, this whole upper part of the Colorado River, which of course the Colorado goes all the way down through Austin and then to the Gulf of Mexico. So what goes on up here is extremely important, not just for here, but all down the watershed. So we work with other groups along the Colorado River watershed within this upper Colorado area as well to coordinate. So if there's a problem seen in some area, that they'll work together and come up with solutions. So it may be identifying a potential pollution source, and then they'll work with that community and those people there and whatever they need to do to fix that. So that's a lot of what goes on, is monitoring the waters, addressing the issues, and working with community groups to remedy it. It also includes things like structural river improvements, such as working with the city on the river improvements along the Concho through town, and that improves the water quality. So bank stabilization, anything to do with slowing down water and helping filter that out before it gets in the water. So a lot of structural things is also monitoring. But it's never done alone. UCRA is not a big staff. It involves working with lots of different organizations and universities in the city to help take care of it. My part of UCRA is the outreach and education component, because we can do all of these things to check and monitor and structurally fix, but if the people in the community aren't doing anything or aren't aware of what their impact is on that river, then it's not going to have as big of impact at all, because of course the problems with our river are due to people. If we weren't here, the river would kind of just do its thing. So people obviously impact the river, what we do on the land. And if we can educate people to say, hey, we're the ones that have an impact, we can choose to do something positive, or we can sit back and say it's none of my business. And so my job is really to encourage people to take care of that natural resource and be aware of the things that cause pollution, be aware of taking care of it. And really my part in the education is not only helping take care of the water quality, so what shouldn't you be putting outside, or what is it that you're doing that could contribute, but it's also water conservation. When you don't have a lot of water, which obviously I don't have to tell anyone that we don't have a lot of water, when you don't have a lot of water, what you do have can be concentrated. So then when you do have a rain or you do have anything, all of that goes into that little bitty body of water, and it can just kind of exacerbate the problem. So you can't think of them separately. Water quality is as important as water quantity. So I do both of those things.
And one of the highest profile aspects of your education program involves a group called the Aqua Squad. Mm-hmm. Tell us what the Aqua Squad is.
Well, and I think that this is something that San Angelo should be so proud of, because there's really, that I've seen, is an example of multiple organizations working together for this cause. Aqua Squad actually came about back in 2007, 2008 in a partnership with the San Angelo Museum of Fine Arts, the River Authority, and the school district. And we really knew that there was something that a really, empowered, smart group of young people could do together. And instead of just keeping it here, which we do a big part of it here, we also take them somewhere else because it's really nice to have perspective. So Aqua Squad program grew out of that. Then we got applied for and received a federal grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. That expanded Aqua Squad. And what Aqua Squad does basically is they learn all about water issues as much as we can. I spend about 4 weeks with them in the summer. They devote that time. And then, we go on field trips, we hear from experts. And not only do they learn about the science of it and the community part of it, but they also learn about communication and design. Because, it's one thing to know all this, but how do you communicate this effectively and creatively? That's where the fine arts come in. So we combine these two things. And in the past, they've done photography exhibits, they've built models, and they did some videos, and they always do presentations and learn about those things. We put those things together. When they go on their trip, they've gone all over the United States. Every year we go somewhere different. Because if you go and find out what the water issues are in some other community, then you bring perspective back. And many of these students, some of them have never been out of Texas. So to go somewhere else and experience we go to arts museums, photography museums, and we also go to science museums and go talk to the experts in water there. They bring that back to give perspective. So it's really important, I think, to take that broader look at things. So that's Aqua Squad. The great thing is Aqua Squad is kind of central part now of our programs.
And so the award that I mentioned that the city won in the Public Works category was for the stormwater education program,
right.
And the Aqua Squad was a part of that.
Right.
So tell us why you thought it was important to take on stormwater education in particular as a project.
Well, several years ago, when the river was designated as an impaired water body, it was important that the city take on stormwater, and meaning structurally improvements, which we've been doing. The city has taken on. Obviously, the city takes the lead on this. UCRA is a strong partner on all aspects of stormwater. That includes monitoring stations set up all over the city. We needed to take care of our water, and a huge part of that is the education part. So UCRA, because we're already all about this, smartly, we partnered with the city. And so, I got to do the stormwater education piece for the city when, I had Aqua Squad already there. So it really worked out. It was a nice partnership. So it was a natural fit. And then we were able to do things that a lot of other communities do, which is the billboards and the water bill inserts and those sorts of things, and worked with a local designer, graphic designer, to help do those things. So that's really effective. But what we did, which I think had this program stand out for the City of San Angelo, is we didn't just stop there. We didn't just stop in putting that out there. We went directly, along with our Aqua Squad program, we went directly into all the schools, and specifically 7th grades. Every 7th grader for the last 3 years in the city of San Angelo has had me in their classroom. So I go into the science classrooms and I have worked with them, and so that they understand their local watershed, they understand what their role is in taking care of it. And it's a part of their curriculum anyway. They need to know about watersheds in 7th grade. So it worked out great. So all these kids have had way more than we did. When we were in middle school, I didn't know anything about what a watershed is or non-point source pollution. Every kid now is getting that, which is incredible. And that component, along with Aqua Squad, I think put San Angelo above others.
We only have about a couple of minutes left, but what do you think is going to be the ripple effect of having all these youngsters educated on water conservation and water quality? What will be the ripple effect in the future?
Well, I think a lot of it is what we just said, is that when we were their age, this wasn't talked about. It really wasn't. I mean, if you think about the Clean Water Act in the early 70s, I mean, it didn't quite hit us yet. These young people as they get older and start making decisions at home, in their businesses, in the community, they're going to be smarter than us. I guarantee it. If there's one thing I have hope about, is that our young people have something that we didn't quite learn about until later. We're trying to catch up. And I think we need to give them a lot of credit. They're ready to do things that I think adults aren't quite, we're just now getting our heads around.
One last quick question. Why are they so invested in the environment and in ecology?
You know, I think my thinking on that is that we are too, but we've had more years to get away from nature. You know, we've had all these worries and all these things that we have to take care of in our jobs and our homes and our kids. And they're still allowed that luxury as we did. If you think back when you were young, they're still connected there. If we can encourage that instead of stamping it out of them, they're going to make better choices. And I think they're just closer because we were too. We've just had more time to kind of forget it. And if we encourage them not to forget it so that they can make really good choices for their community, I think it'll be really effective. And I'm so proud of San Angelo. I don't think there's any other city that a school district, a city, a river authority, an art museum really is what made this program effective.
We've been talking with Christy Youker. She is the Education Director for the UCRA. And we'll return in a moment with Craig Meyers from West Texas Organizing Strategies. But first, we're going to spotlight two outstanding city employees, Police Officer Howard Miller and his partner, K-9 Officer Thor.
His name is Thor, 2 months. He's brand new, untrained, $9,000. He's a Dutch Shepherd, belongs to the Malinois family. The other ones we have are Belgian Malinois. They're the buckskin color. The brindles are the Dutch Shepherds. Well, they normally find our bad guys. They normally find our dope. And if someone tries to hurt the dog, they're very good at protecting themselves and very good at protecting us. I mean, they have a high drive. Finding people and narcotics. And we work the nighttime because it's cooler. Obviously, the heat, 100 today. So, and that's most of our activities at night. When crime seems to be more. Narcotics that we can't find, we believe it's there. Even if we smell it, they can find it. They can pinpoint it. People, I mean, they go in backyard sheds, top of roofs, under things. Dogs are able to find them, and the dog's out in front. So he protects us. We're behind him. He lets us know ahead of time where he's at. But they all perform. They all have to be certified, and they all have to perform certification to pass. So they're all good in that area. Some just excel more in other areas. On the average, it looks like this will probably take about 3 months. And we're doing 2 dogs, so it's going to take, that's why it's taking a little longer. But there's so much we have to train in. We have to do their obedience. Obedience is the foundation of everything else. The building. An article search is looking for evidence that may have tossed or hidden out somewhere in the pasture or wherever. We got tracking, we got narcotics, from cars to houses to buildings. There's so much we have to slowly move through, and today they do good, and tomorrow we move somewhere else, and sometimes we go backwards, and then the bite release, the biting, and all that. We have a lot to train. They're dual purpose, and there's a lot of purpose there. Probably a good year and a half, till you're a team. I mean, you can read each other. And that's how long it takes. Behaviors and stuff like that, and in the same way the dog has to understand me. And it's about a year and a half. 4 dogs. We have Snoop, Thor, Fritz, and Duke. They're assigned to that officer, and they are a team. If I take off, I take off. If he gets sick, I've been awarded a sick day one time because he had to take care of them. Oh, they stay at our house. Some stay outside. Some stay. He's half and half. Nighttime, morning, outside, heat day, inside. We train them to jump. And we train them to jump 6-foot walls, 7-foot walls. And what do we have? 6-foot privacy fences. And so you've got to monitor them. So yeah, it's vacuuming the house and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a 24/7 job. This training we do, to us, it wears us out. To them, it's a game. As long as we continue it as a game, fun, play, they enjoy it, and it drives them. They can't wait to go to work. This is what they're bred to do. This is what they love to do, and it's a fun time for them. Mals are unique. They are not animal aggressive. A cat can walk by, they can care less. No drive like that. A German Shepherd, hold on, we're going. I mean, My German Shepherd killed 3 skunks on tracks, and to some people that might be, wow, no, it's not. We're out there to do a job, and I don't need those distractions. I'm really blessed with the department for allowing us to get a dog, these type of dogs, and the public helps us out. We cannot ignore the public. They donate. We have people that donate money. We started this program. The program started strictly by donations from the City of San Angelo public. Being utilized for a big narcotic bust, being utilized for a big manhunt, and succeeding. That's a dang good day. That's a high five. That's what we talk about. The chief, in the shift duty, say like C Company went in and we were involved in something, tracking with the dog. We don't really want our name involved, we want our dog's name. And the chief comes on the next day and says, hey, good tracking team, good track, blah, blah, blah. And that's what, it's no extra pay, but getting compliments like that and getting recognized is rewarding enough. The more you train, the better you're prepared for the outside. The more you bring in from the real world to our training that we experience problems, the better we're ready for the bad element, and that means we get to go home. These dogs are just phenomenal. As you move along, we keep increasing the training, the level of difficulty, but we always got to end. You always got to put that succeeding, building his confidence up, and it's just amazing what you can do with dogs as long as you put the time in.
Welcome back. We are joined now by the Reverend Craig Meyers. Craig is involved with an organization called West Texas Organizing Strategies, which was a key partner in the second award that the city won at the Texas Municipal League Awards, and that was for City Spirit for our annual Neighborhood Blitz. And Reverend Meyers is here to talk about that. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, first of all, for those who are not initiated, explain what West Texas Organizing Strategies is and what it does.
West Texas Organizing Strategy is an organization that evolved from the community organizing during the civil rights period and things, that essentially tried to gather citizens through their churches and other organizations to give a voice to people who don't have a voice in a political arena, and therefore they don't get equal opportunities and resources that other people do. And here in San Angelo, it's made up of 17 churches from every part of the community: Protestants, Catholics, African American, Mexican American, Anglo communities, who all speak with a common voice for what we believe is best for the families of San Angelo.
Now, our Neighborhood Blitz effort is a day each year where the city employees are away from their normal jobs, but they go into a specific community and help tidy up that community by painting houses and cleaning alleyways and a lot of different other projects. Tell us what WTOS's role in the Neighborhood Blitz has been. Okay,
well, from the very beginning, WTOS has been one of the major players in organizing for the city rehabilitation, revitalization programs. And after the city began the Blitz, we went to Bob Salas and said this could have much more impact if you also included volunteers from the community. And initially, for instance, they did about 13, 14, 15 houses first 2 times, and we said, what would happen if we came and instead of having 30 people painting siding with brushes, we organized our churches to bring out teams of sprayers to accelerate that. And in the Blitz in Rio Vista, we went from about 20 houses to 48 houses with that help. Plus, we said, why don't we provide a really good meal for all the volunteers? And then the next thing we decided was this worked so well, what if we use Saturday to do all the houses with volunteers, and that way the city could use the heavy equipment to clean up the neighborhood and also to do the work on infrastructure such as rec centers and things like that and major cleanups. And so again, we doubled the impact overall of what could happen. And we provided over half of the volunteer teams for the last 80 houses. And then they got the Air Force Base and then the football team from ASU to take over the other half. And this has worked very well.
Has WTOS been involved in the selection of neighborhoods or maybe in determining what can be done in those neighborhoods?
Yes. Not in the selection. Back 10 years ago, the City of San Angelo designated 4 neighborhoods, Blackshear, Rio Vista, Fort Concho, and Reagan, as blighted areas. These are slum areas by all statistical measures: crime, large majority of substandard housing, infrastructure is shot, there is all kinds of things that make it a slum area. And so they designated this area, and they really didn't quite know what to do with it, because most places put a project in there, or they bulldoze it and have a nice development and disperse the people to create other blighted areas. And the city designated those areas. And W2OS started meeting with the staff of the city to try to say, how can we do something different? Not just improve a slum area or help some families. How can we eliminate all the blighted areas in San Angelo? And essentially, we've accomplished that statistically. A lot of work still to do. But you can only do it comprehensively. If you put a big apartment complex in, while you allow all the other stuff to decline, by the time you finish that, you have more work to do than when you started. So we attacked everything at once, using all the not-for-profits, all the block grant money, the designated sales tax money to leverage grant money, state money, federal money, and a huge volunteer force. And then the city itself took all of its different departments, and they redirected them to provide the same kind of services that are given to other areas. For instance, all the vacant areas in these blighted areas were overgrown with brush and accumulated trash and had feral animals in them. Code compliance, that is no longer true. These are cleared, clean, safe, and they are open for new building. And it's new houses, apartments, rentals, private investments got involved, the banks have helped, and the citizens themselves have started investing in property that is appreciating instead of deteriorating, whatever they do. And so 2,600 houses have had something done to them, households, as well as the landscape and infrastructure. So the blitz is one key element in the rehabbing of the neighborhoods, and that's why it's so important. It has a ripple effect in.
Well, and that was going to be my next question, is why are these efforts so important? Why must we make a concerted effort to revitalize these blighted neighborhoods?
Well, one, it's just humane. And the blighted areas are blighted because they were planned that way out of the period of segregation. Poor people who are of color live there, and they're not provided services, and they're not given equal opportunities for jobs, so they can't keep up the neighborhoods. And then after segregation is no longer legal, services aren't delivered, and so they deteriorate. Secondly, it costs the city a tremendous amount. And since this revitalization, and these are no longer slums, $45 million worth of improvements have been made on the ground, half of it from private investment who made no investment in those areas, and that increases the tax base enormously, plus the cost of law enforcement is diminished greatly as well. So it's good for everybody.
What's the thing that has stuck out in your mind most about these efforts over the years, the neighborhood blitz? Is there a singular moment or project or area that sort of has struck you about that captures the success of this?
The most descriptive one is the one that was done in Rio Vista. And the whole idea is that if you target an area and make a visible improvement, and then all the rest of the area improves by private investment and the neighbors themselves. And they did 48 houses in the 40-block area on the west side of Bryant. And the year afterwards, besides those 48 houses, 120 other homes were improved by the residents themselves or people who were investing and buying up bad properties and improving them to flip or sell. So, to do those 48 houses in a 2-day period caused, the whole neighborhood to move from about 30% acceptable housing to about 70%. Just that one thing. So it's that ripple effect that makes the difference.
What more do you think needs to be done, and where might it be done?
Well, I think that, like I say, we're down statistically from probably about 70% substandard housing to less than 30. Well, we need to complete the rest of it, because if you leave 30% of the community, even though it's a minority part of it, substandard, then that will eat away at the rest of it. Just as you get momentum revitalizing, you get momentum and deteriorating. And the other kinds of things that need to be done are in the job areas, to make sure that people who maybe come from neighborhoods that they don't have the educational background or other kinds of supports, to not just focus on filling high dollar jobs that the oil's bringing in, but to prepare people for construction and other kinds of work who may have a police record or something along those lines. That's something that really would be valuable for the whole community.
These efforts have been funded by a combination of grant monies and half-cent sales tax dollars, both of which have been used up by this point. What do you think the future of the neighborhood blitz is?
Well, I don't like to anticipate anything, but I just heard that at the last COCDC meeting, the success of the blitz was brought to them, and the half-cent sales tax has been one of those leverage funds, by which you've gotten federal tax credits, all these different kinds of things. And as I understand it, it was brought up and received with some favorable response that the half-cent sales tax money might do that funding part of it that goes for new siding and things that can't be done by volunteers. So that's possible.
This, of course, was an award-winning effort. What was your reaction when you heard that the Texas Municipal League was honoring the Blitz, one of only 5 award winners at this year's conference, and in a category with cities of populations of greater than 25,000 people?
I wasn't surprised because, quite frankly, the total revitalization program, and that's what we finally sold that got the tax credits for those 36 new houses up in Blackshear. Nobody else in the state of Texas is attacking the whole blight problem comprehensively and using all the resources available. City not-for-profits, the National Guard came in to demolish houses, university. I mean, there's about 40 partners in this that have come together, and there's not a official organization or no budget or officers or anything like that, but they all do what they do in the right place where it makes the most difference, and the impact is, for every dollar spent on a blitz, there's probably $10 of multipliers that the impact from other resources bring about in those neighborhoods. And so I wasn't surprised at all because no other city deserves it because no other city's doing this, frankly.
Well, and you've just led into my last question. We only have about a minute left, but what do you think this effort says about San Angelo?
I think it says that this is a really heck of a good place to live. And I think the same kind of energy that goes in these blighted neighborhoods, and that's important because it's the neglected area. It's nobody else has done, but it's the same kind of energy that has gone into the park system. It's the same kind of energy that's gone into revitalization of downtown, which is we support 100%. We're not competitors for the same dollars. The city is really, really not the city it was 10 years ago, and I think that this kind of spirit is seen in so many other areas.
We've been talking with the Reverend Craig Meyers of West Texas Organizing Strategies, and we hope you'll join us for the next episode of The City.